My name is Matt Vinson. I'm a project manager with DelDOT's Project Development Group. First of all, I want to welcome all of you and thank you for coming out. Your input is invaluable to our design process. We really want to get as much feedback as we can. Before we get into the presentation, I would like to ask everyone to hold off on all of your questions until after the presentation. We have staffers as well as myself will be back in the display area to answer any questions that you have. But in the presentation, we've got quite a bit of information to go through, so it's not necessarily our goal to take you through each alternative individually in detail. We just want to give you an idea of what to expect with the workshop, looking at the display boards, a little bit about the goals and the format of the workshop, and give you some things to think about as you're making your way around. So, starting off, talking a little bit about the goals of the workshop. As with all of our workshops, our main goal is to get input from the public. Like I said before, your input is invaluable to our design process. We've got a lot of information here that we need to put forward, so we want to get as much feedback as we possibly can. What we're really hoping to do here is to provide an open dialogue to start with. One thing that we're not expecting out of this particular workshop is to come to a preferred alternative. There's really so much information, so many alternatives that it's really impossible to come to a preferred alternative from one workshop. So really our goal for tonight is to get your feedback. We've got the potential to eliminate several of the alternatives depending on what that feedback is. Our goal is then to carry forward some of those other alternatives for further study and refinement. Our goal then is to come out with an additional workshop, tentatively for this fall, where again we can get additional feedback and really refine those alternatives, and hopefully at that point come to a preferred alternative. A little bit about the format of the workshop itself. Like most of our workshops, you'll see display boards posted around the room. Those include information on each of our alternatives, as well as general project information, some background information as well. In addition to what we normally do with the display boards, we have a couple of specialty stations. One of our alternatives includes a divergent diamond interchange. Some of you may be familiar with it, some of you may not be. It's a relatively new design that we're seeing pop up more and more. For anyone that's not familiar with it, we have a station over here in the back that shows you what the alternative specifically that we're proposing includes, as well as some background information and just general information on diverging diamonds as well. We've also got a video showing a driver's eye view of what it's like to actually drive through a diverging diamond. A lot of times I think the aerial view that we show is a little bit difficult, can be a little bit confusing, so we wanted to give you an idea of what it would be like to actually drive through a diverging diamond. So feel free to take a look at that as well. Another station that we have is our trace paper station. It's located in the middle of the room. Essentially what we're looking for out of that is if you go around the room, if the alternatives that we've shown you don't match up with your thoughts, if you have additional ideas that you'd like to present to us, that gives you a chance. You can feel free to draw on our maps that we have. And it just gives you a chance to visually show us what your thoughts are. The last couple of items, the comment forms are crucial to getting your feedback. So I would urge all of you to go fill those out. Whatever your feedback, positive, negative, please let us know which alternatives you prefer, which ones you particularly don't prefer. Again, because that feedback is vital to us moving forward and refining those alternatives. And finally, you see our project website. All the information that we have here will be posted on that project website. The project website is also on our thank you board, so feel free to write it down. Again, all the information presented here tonight will be on that website, so you can go back, refresh your memory, look at it a little bit closer. A comment form will be up on that website as well, so feel free to if you don't have a chance tonight, to fill out that comment form and send it in. A little bit about the project itself. This project really stems from our hazard elimination program, what we call our HEP program. What that is essentially a program to identify safety hotspots throughout the state. This was identified, so really what we want to focus on with this project is improving the safety in the area. We do note that there are a lot of operational issues, traffic congestion, queuing throughout the project area. So all in all, the purpose of the project is to address the safety and the operational improvements. We note that one of the biggest issues with both the safety and the operations is the weed condition coming off of the I-95 southbound ramp onto 273 before you make the right turn onto Harmony Road. You've got a lot of vehicles trying to make their way from the I-95 ramp onto 273 westbound. A lot of vehicles already on 273 westbound trying to make their way into the right turn lane to make the right turn onto Harmony Road. So we'll see a lot of the alternatives that we present tonight really try to address that issue. And not only that safety issue, but some of the operational issues that we see as well. What you see here, hopefully a lot of you have this in handout form already. This is our alternatives matrix. Really, this is to give you an idea of how each of the alternatives compare to one another, and also to help you familiarize yourself with each of the alternatives as you go around the room. Just taking you through it really briefly. So at the very top in yellow, we have sort of general areas of concern. Things like safety, operational issues, as well as right-of-way impacts and the total cost. Below that in blue are more specific areas, so specific issues that we see at this particular intersection in those categories. Coming down on the left-hand column are each of the alternatives. So I'm not going to go through each of them individually. I want to touch on them just a little bit, not necessarily in any detail, but just to give you an idea of what you'll be looking at with the display board. So, of course, we have the no-build alternative. That is obviously leaving the intersection as it is today. Alternatives 1 and 2 involve full or partial closures of Harmony Road. Some of you may remember this was attempted for about a month back in 1998. We have a board that addresses some of the results of that study. And again, alternatives 1 and 2 in some way address that same issue and provide an alternative showing that. Alternatives 3 and 4, we consider interchange ramp improvements. They involve the modifications to the existing ramps in the case of alternative 3. Alternative 4 involves, like I said before, the diverging diamond interchange. And again, you can get a little bit more detailed information on each of those back at the boards. Alternative 5 involves improvements to SR 273 main line. In essence, it's a widening, adding a third lane in each direction to 273 from Harmony Road out to SR 4. Alternative 6, again, is similar to Alternative 3 in that there are some ramp improvements, but we also add in a spur ramp off of the 95 southbound ramp to tie into the existing Gerald Drive stub. So you tie into Harmony Road a bit farther north than where it does now with 270. Alternative 7 essentially provides internal connection to Samoset Drive. So again, you'd have a spur off the I-95 southbound ramp. This would connect into likely a roundabout, which would spur off to either Gerald Drive or Brownleaf Road, but also spur off to Samoset Drive in the vicinity of the Bank of America facility and the Christiana Hospital. So this would provide an additional access both to the hospital and to SR4, hopefully taking some of the burden off of Harmony Road. Alternative 8 involves turn restrictions at South Gerald Drive. So 8A involves simply a median to restrict turns on South Gerald Drive. Alternative 8B involves additional turn restrictions for the left turn lanes from 273 onto South Gerald Drive. And finally, alternative 9 involves the full realignment and widening of Harmony Road. The idea behind this is to allow the road to function in a way that it really functions today, even though the character of the road doesn't necessarily match that. So right now it's essentially, it was meant to be sort of a residential road. That's what the typical section of the road looks like now, but it functions much more as a major collector. So alternative 9 essentially takes that character of how the road should be and actually matches the typical section to that. A couple of things just in general. We kind of group some of these alternatives together, again, with the ramp improvements, with Harmony Road improvements, or the turn restrictions. A couple of things to keep in mind as you walk around. One is that these alternatives can really be implemented in a phased approach. So we don't necessarily have to stick with a single preferred alternative. We can do multiple alternatives if that's what the community feels is needed. So one thing to keep in mind again is that there are some smaller term improvements, things like the Harmony Road closures or the turn restriction on Gerald Drive that are relatively simple to construct. They wouldn't take a lot of time. They can be implemented relatively quickly. And then you get into things like the ramp improvements of the diverging diamond, where there's quite a bit more construction activity that's involved with that, but perhaps not a lot of right-of-way acquisition or environmental impacts that we have to be concerned with. So they're kind of a little bit more in the midterm. Finally, you have some of the longer-term things like the Harmony Road realignment or the widening of SR 273. Obviously, both of those impact a lot of homes, a lot of right-of-way impact, potentially some environmental impacts as well. So those would be certainly sort of on the long term in terms of our implementation. Another thing we want to keep in mind is that, again, we may not necessarily come to a single alternative, a single preferred alternative, but that a lot of these alternatives can be combined with other alternatives. And the next couple of slides I've got show just a couple of examples of how they can be combined. Keep in mind that this isn't the end-all, be-all. These are just a couple of examples. A lot of these alternatives can be combined in many different ways. So feel free to ask questions of our staff, what can be combined with what, and then how we can do that. So this is an example of alternatives 1 and 5. Again, alternative 1 involves the full closure of Harmony Road. The idea, again, of most of these alternatives is to address the weed issue coming off of 95 southbound. So the way that this particular alternative does that is it turns the weed condition into a merge condition. So obviously, mainline 273 vehicles are no longer merging to the right to get into the right lane to turn onto Harmony Road. All that we have to worry about is 95 southbound ramp vehicles merging into 273. Now, one issue that we run into with that is that all of the vehicles that we see turning right onto Harmony Road end up continuing onto 273 westbound. So one way to alleviate that is, again, to combine these alternatives with the 273 wide to allow that extra capacity to handle the additional traffic generated by utilizing alternative. This is an example of some of the ramp modifications that we can use. Again, this 3B is the ramp modifications you see in yellow. Again, the idea is a signalized intersection at the bottom of the ramp. This eventually would lead to the elimination of the weave condition as well. Again, but this alternative doesn't necessarily address some of the capacity issues as you get to Harmony Road and continue westbound. So we can combine this, in this case, with alternative 8, which again is the turn restrictions onto Gerald Drive. And what that does is, at an intersection that's signalized, you only have so much green time for the entire intersection. So eliminating some of these turning movements would allow more green time on the 273 main line and allow traffic to move through much easier. 4A and 7B, again, this is an example of the diverging diamond. This would address the capacity issues all through the interchange, as well as eliminate the weave condition. We've combined that with 7B, which is some of those internal connections to Samoset Drive. So again, you can see the spur off of the 95 ramp and the connection up to Samoset Drive near the Bank of America facility. Again, this pulls a little bit of additional traffic away from Harmony Road. It allows an additional connection onto SR3. This last one is probably the largest in scope that we could possibly see. So we combine ramp improvements of alternative 3A. Again, that eliminates that weave condition. We've combined that with alternative 9, which is the Harmony Road realignment, allowing for additional capacity up on Harmony Road. And finally, to address capacity issues on SR 273, we've added alternative 5 into that as well, with the widening of SR 273 to allow that additional capacity. So, in the end, we really want to just give you a taste of some of the possibilities with these alternatives. Again, feel free to roam around, provide your input. We've got a lot of staff back there to answer any questions that you might have. Back here you can see my contact information, my email address and my phone number, as well as our public relations contact information. And finally, our project website. All the information that you see here will be posted on the website. So feel free to take a second look after tonight, make any comments that you have. Again, I urge you all to fill out the comment forms. That's the best way to have your voice heard. So again, thank you for being here tonight, and if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. Thank you.